NBA fans were good all year, and Santa delivered 5 amazing games full of close upsets, turnarounds, and comebacks on Christmas Day. Plus, Jimmy Butler draws a line in the sand with the Miami Heat ahead of the NBA trade deadline. That's all ahead today on Locked On NBA.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On NBA. Thanks for making us your first listen of the day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is sponsored by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On NBA for $20 off your first purchase. I'm Doug Branson, host of Locked On Hornets, and your Shot Clock Sherpa, guiding you through the NBA's biggest stories with the help of Locked On's local experts. And with me are two of Locked On's premier national NBA experts from the Locked On Nuggets podcast and senior writer for the Action Network. We've got Matt Moore, and from the Locked On Bulls podcast, Hayes. I don't know if you two are nursing an NBA hangover from the amazing action that we got on Christmas Day. Was this the best slate of games that we've had in recent memory?
It's surprising to me that it was really great. The biggest thing is that these games were all memorable. Like, we're going to remember these games because a lot of times it's like, oh yeah, like those two played on Christmas, didn't they? But like from Wemby to the Lakers Warriors nail biter, like all of these games were absolutely, well, except for the last one, we're just thrilling and are games that we're going to remember for various reasons, Hayes.
Yeah, it was a fun day of games, like everything from top to bottom. And maybe it was just because I had a little withdrawal from NBA games with the day of no games, but I sat there and watched throughout the day, and it was considerably more entertaining than the NFL games, easily, in fact.
Okay, now, am I crazy here, but is this maybe a reflection of the NBA's efforts at team parity at play here? We've got the CBA. There's been a lot of work done to keep super teams from dominating some of these games, and you had a lot of role players stepping up and not a lot of, three superstars taking over a game. Is this a win for the NBA?
I mean, look, the ratings are going to come out and they're going to get killed, and everyone's going to be like, I didn't do anything because the ratings were bad. And it's just like, I don't want the games were good, right? I will say, like, one of the things that was great about these games being awesome is that the slate wasn't great to me on paper. I was like, oh man, Celtics Sixers again. And I was like, the Spurs are probably going to get killed in New York. And instead Wemby did what he did. Like, you had surprises and turns, underdogs went, I think 5-0 yesterday. Like, they were phenomenal. So like, it's a really good opportunity, I think, to kind of showcase that there is more parity, and that you can't just be like, oh, I know what's going to happen. The unexpected is what you want in sports, and that's what the NBA had yesterday.
Let's talk about a couple of those upsets. The Lakers and Sixers entered their Christmas Day matchups with a couple of things in common. Both teams had serious questions about their ability to compete in their respective conferences, but both had also built up some momentum entering Wednesday. Now they have 3 things in common. Both teams won their games. Here's Locked On Lakers and Locked On Sixers postgame on what's been behind their recoveries.
Since the Miami game and the investment of LeBron James. Now, obviously, inserting Max Christie into the starting lineup makes a big difference. But it's not just that. It's the effort and the energy and the fact that they have another guy in that lineup in LeBron who is certainly, not being it was a negative to that point, and is changing that dynamic on the defense. Makes a huge difference.
Yeah, it's a team-wide thing. Teams take their cues from their leader.
This was a barometer game, if we're going to be real. They played the stretch of, this was the third game of a stretch of 3 games against teams with winning records. And, the Sixers came out here, and to me, they showed that they have the potential to be an elite team. They were solid in transition. They had a balanced attack. They built a 16-point lead, weathered Boston's comeback efforts, and guess what? They won the game. And as Joel Embiid said, he thinks that they have a high ceiling.
Okay, what say you, Matt, based on what you saw last night, yesterday, or based on what you've seen over the past couple of weeks, whose ceiling is going to be higher this season, Lakers or Sixers?
I'm going to go with the Sixers. The ceiling implies that they're able to get their guys on the floor, that they're able to be healthy. Like, that roster's good. they've got 3 guys who are really great players. Like we can pick apart all these guys, Paul George, Joel, etc. But like those are all great players. Joel's a former MVP. PG is a top level player in this league, and Maxi's phenomenal. They've got good role players like Kelly Oubre. They've got good guys coming off the bench. Like they're getting good contributions from different guys. Losing Jeremy Kane hurts, but like I think the ceiling is going to be higher for the Sixers, and I'm pretty high on the Lakers. But like the Sixers are a legitimate finals contender if everything clicks. The Lakers are like, yeah, they could make a conference finals if everything goes right again, then they'll get killed. But that to me is where the difference kind of comes in here. I think both of these teams can make a conference finals, but I think only the Sixers can actually get past it to the finals.
I think the 76ers have the higher ceiling for a few reasons. Like, yeah, they have great talent there. Embiid is a former MVP, but they're also in the Eastern Conference, right? They're out of the play-in right now. They can go from out of the play-in to the 6th seed. I think they're only 3.5 games back. So a hot week can completely turn around their complete standing. They haven't lost back-to-back games in a month. The last time they lost back-to-back games was November 24th and November 27th. This is December 26th. This team has been considerably playing better. And keep in mind, it's not like Joel Embiid has been fully healthier in all of those games either. I think that this team's still learning how to play together. Paul George still shooting like crap. So I think they have a way higher ceiling as far as in their conference, making it farther within their conference than the Los Angeles Lakers.
All right, well, it wasn't all sunshine and Donald Duck crossing folks up on the Mickey Mouse broadcast. There were some unfortunate storylines in yesterday's games. Luka Doncic leaving yesterday's matchup between the Mavs and the Wolves with a calf injury that Shams Charania reported could cost him extended time. How will the Mavs handle another injury to their best player? Let's hear from Nick Angstedt of Locked On Mavs.
They say, okay, sit out for a month. Can you get Luka to do that if there's a possibility for him to come back? Because I don't think you can. That's one of the problems with Luka is that you can't, like, he'll play if he can play. The Mavs without Luka, though, I think they also have proven even in this game that they can play well without him.
Yeah.
They're 6-2 without Luka this season, and they have a deep team. They have a team that competes. It's going to be a lot on Kyrie Irving however long Luka is out, and that's something to definitely monitor. His minutes, his workload. He took how many shots? 27 shots today. But this team can compete, and they can stay above water. This injury 2 years ago, or even maybe last year, is, oh my God, are the Mavs going to fall out of the playoffs? You know, and I don't think that's the case this year, which is something that we can take some solace in.
Okay, Hayes, Kyrie Irving, 39 points, 15 of those in the fourth quarter. Crazy comeback by the Dallas Mavericks, but it falls just short. Do you think the way the Mavericks have performed without Luka will encourage Luka to get that calf 100% healthy, or do you think the allure of award season and just getting back to be with his team and lead them will be too strong?
Yeah, I think just his desire to play basketball. Keep in mind, Luka is what the Hayes petty meter. We need to create a graphic for that. Luka's a very petty player. He's going to want to be petty. He's going to want to be out there on the court. Now, I do think like you can convince him. Maybe not sit out a long period of time, but maybe put him on a minutes restriction. Maybe if they're playing with the lead, let him sit down because they do have a lot of depth. But Luka Doncic is going to want to be out there on the court. If he's healthy and he feels he can go, he's going to push every bit of that for him to get out on the court because he knows how important this season is and he knows what this team could be. And it's made that much easier with Luka. But I do think that this team can stay afloat. If they do convince somehow with Dr. Phil to convince Luka to sit down, I think that they have enough to stay afloat in the Western Conference.
It's not your fault, Luka.
It ain't about you.
So. One, I think Luka always wants to kind of compete. He's already gotten max eligibility by his All-NBA selection last year, and any missed time is basically going to take him out of contention for awards this season. He's not going to be able to play enough games to hit the 65-game mark. I'm not saying those are the only reasons to play. Like I said, Luka wants to compete. I'm just saying it's a little bit easier. It's a little bit easier to make the case for him when it's like, look, you're not going to make – you can't win MVP this season anyway to hit that bonus. You're already max extension eligible. It's okay. From there, they're still good without Luka. They're not better. And this has been a big difference this season is that Luka actually has really backed up. The way that he's played this season has made them better. He has taken a lesser role, but still been so impactful and done all the things. Well, it's he's done more with less. And that's been really great. But also the team is just better. the margin's just a lot tighter now. It's like, all right, you're going to lose more games versus the top end teams, but as long as they can beat the bad teams that they face, or just the teams that are worse than them, not just the bad teams. They've been so good versus teams with a worse winning percentage than them. Win the games that you should, and you will coast through this stretch fine without Luka Doncic. That's been kind of the win profile of this team. I think the Mavs are going to be fine.
All right, coming up on the Locked On NBA podcast, we've got a major update on the Jimmy Butler Heat trade deadline drama from Shams Charania. Plus, we talked about the Sixers. Let's talk about the team that they beat, the Boston Celtics. Are they running out of gas? Do they have enough gas? We're going to hear a lot about gas from John Karalis of Locked On Celtics. That's coming up. Today's episode of the Locked On NBA podcast is brought to you by Game Time. The holidays are the perfect time to make memories, and there's no better way to bring people together than at live events. Whether it's a big game or a concert or a comedy show, Game Time makes it easier than ever to find great tickets at amazing prices. With their new feature, Game Time Picks, you can skip the endless scrolling and get right to the best deals on incredible seats. It's all about saving you time and money while finding the perfect tickets. Plus, you can use the super deal option to score top-notch seats at unbeatable prices. Game Time also gives you features that make buying tickets stress-free, like the all-in pricing feature. You toggle it on, no surprise fees at checkout, and a panoramic seat view so you know exactly what your view will look like before you buy. And with the lowest price guarantee, you'll always get the best deal, or Game Time is going to credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. That's LOCKEDONNBA, LOCKEDON NBA for $20 off. Terms apply. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. Today's episode is also brought to you by Rocket Money. Managing subscriptions can be a hassle. You might be paying for services you no longer use. You might even be paying for some of them twice. That's where Rocket Money comes in, simplifying your finances and helping you stay in control. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that tracks and cancels unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and even negotiates to lower your bills. I like that. With everything in one place, you can finally get a clear picture of your finances and start reaching your goals. Over 5 million users have saved a combined $500 million, and with some saving up to $740 a year using Rocket Money's premium features. One of the standout features is the subscription tracker. It identifies and cancels subscriptions you don't want anymore with just a few taps. Plus, their goals feature helps you set aside money for the future effortlessly, taking all the stress out of budgeting. Take charge of your finances today with Rocket Money. Cancel unwanted subscriptions and start saving. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. More Locked On NBA ahead. Thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. Your favorite NBA team has a free daily newsletter. Go to LockedOnDaily.com and subscribe today to stay up to date with local expert analysis and amazing writing from Katie Heindel, Mike Shear, and Locked On Fantasy Basketball tips from Josh Lloyd. Okay, the games were great last night, but stuck in the middle was a little bit of that yummy trade slop talk from Shams Charania, who writes that Jimmy Butler, quote, prefers a trade out of Miami ahead of the February 6th deadline. Butler has not formally requested a trade. He also reported that the Warriors, Matt Moore with the reactions already.
What's the difference?
What's the difference between preferring and requesting a trade? It's with the language here. It's the words. I don't know. I don't understand. He also reported that the Warriors and the Suns are his top two preferred destinations. What do you make of all of this noise, Matt?
Okay, so you need to, when you're doing trade discussion stuff like this, you need to look at the whole picture. Sometimes these trades come out of nowhere, but when we look at the whole conversation, we talked about on this show report from Mark Stein on Monday, where the Miami Heat, quote, were confident Jimmy Butler would not be able to get the contract he's seeking without their help in a sign and trade. So they say that on Monday, and on Wednesday, on Christmas, with an ESPN live broadcast, oh, look, Jimmy Butler demands prefers a trade, because that's much different than requesting a trade. So, that's the key here. This is a negotiation in public. Is the Heat are saying, look, man, we're not going to just like give you away for nothing. We want good return. We'll help you out if we can get the deal we want, but you're going to have to work with us because you're not getting the money that you want. And this is Jimmy Butler being like, do you want to bet that I can get what I want? Do you want to bet that? And that's where we are, Hayes. Like, this is a public negotiation. Don't look at these reports individually. Look at them across the entire span of reports that we've seen over the last 6 months.
We're seeing the family argument play out in public. That's what's happening here. And it's funny. I do think that, like, my mind is swayed. Initially, I did not think Jimmy Butler would be moved, but I'm leaning more and more towards he may be moved at this year's trade deadline, and it may just make sense. Like, because when you look at the totality of the picture, yeah, there's not a lot of teams that have the free agent capital to give Jimmy Butler the contract that he wants. So you might as well try to push a trade, get so that team can get your bird rights, and then even if you do opt out, they can re-sign you. So it makes a lot of sense for that to happen. But Pat Riley is not going to do anything unless he makes sure, and he feels pretty darn confident that the Miami Heat are getting exactly what they need out of a trade. And that's the part in all of this to look out for, is Pat Riley going to pull the trigger, and then what does he get back? Because he's not just going to do it just to do it.
I like the framing of the family argument, because there's obviously a relationship here to try to maintain. And even in that Shams report, he was like careful to say this is not a Minnesota situation with Jimmy Butler. This is not a situation where he's going to make a big stink now. And so my question is, like, at what point do we get there, right? I mean, if they run this thing all the way up to the deadline, is there a real danger that this thing gets super dramatic and tears the whole team apart?
I wonder who told Shams this is not going to be a Minnesota situation. I wonder who shared that perspective. Like, look, it's up to Jimmy. Jimmy gets to decide. Now, we'll say the history, like, he could say it's not going to be whatever. We have a history of him making things uncomfortable in Philadelphia with, like, stuff about the film room, with him going back at Brett Brown and the stuff with Ben Simmons. We have a history of him with the Wolves, and we have a history of him with the Bulls. When Jimmy is unhappy, everybody's unhappy. So, like, it's entirely up to him. If he's just like, no, I'm cool, I'm chill, whatever, I'm breezy, then yeah, it'll be fine. But my bet is that it's going to get messy and they'll wind up having to deal him. And I think, honestly, they'll be better after they move him.
Hayes, did the Warriors' performance pre-Steph going supernova? I mean, he drugged them back into that game there at the end, but pre that, did that Warriors performance signal to you that they have to trade for someone like Jimmy's skill set and intangibles? Would that have helped them in that game?
I think, yeah, of course it would help him in the game. I'm still just worried about, like, Jimmy going there. Jimmy's on a decline. I get it that you're pairing him with Steph and their timelines are similar as far as their time left in the league, but I'm just worried. I mean, Jimmy wouldn't have to give as much effort as he is. Well, won't have to extend himself as much as he did for the Miami Heat to be able to go on the runs that they did, because they'll have more help there. But I'm just worried about that pairing. But the Warriors do need something. I do think that Jimmy could help them out a lot. I don't know, just a little bit worried about it. Maybe I shouldn't be.
The young guys want to get paid. They don't want their minutes messed with. Kerr's trying to get them to play the kind of basketball that helps them win a championship with Steph Curry. Like, that's an impossible situation right now. Those guys have careers that they're looking out for. So, Hayes, I'll ask you this. If things got worse with the Warriors, if you're Miami, would you trade Bam Adebayo for Steph Curry?
No.
Because that gives the Warriors a future, and they can commit to the young guys and pay them all and shift their priorities.
No, I don't think in the offseason you lost Clay. You could sell that fan base on trading Steph. I just don't think you could do that.
Okay. Well,
it would be wild for Bam to get dealt and Butler not to get dealt.
that would be very wild. I'm just saying, for me, it's like, you could trade for Butler, but, like, because here's the thing, with how much Draymond and Steph make, you are going to have to pay Butler or you lose him for nothing and don't get anything in return. What are you going to do? Are you going to go into the second apron for Jimmy Butler with these guys all over 35? I think it's an impossible situation, Doug.
All right, coming up, I'm sure this is not the last time we're going to talk about this for sure. But coming up, I want to get back to these Christmas Day games. Knicks and Spurs, they got the whole day kicked off the right way. An amazing performance from Wemby that we have to get to, and then the Knicks won the game, so we'll talk about that too. Plus, we got to mention the Celtics losing What does that mean? Can they turn it on? Because it doesn't feel like they're turned on right now. Can they turn it on late in the season? Matt shaking his head no. We'll find out what Hayes thinks coming up. Today's episode of the Locked On NBA podcast is brought to you by Robinhood Gold. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.25% APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on IRA account contributions. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC. More Locked On NBA ahead. Thanks again for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. Christmas Day opened with an amazing game between the New York Knicks and San Antonio Spurs. The Knicks outlasted 42 points and 18 rebounds from Victor Wembanyama thanks to 41 points from Mikal Bridges. We've seen the relationship between Brunson and Towns blossom this season, particularly offensively, but they were watching from the bench to close this game. Is Mikal Bridges finding somewhere near the level of play that he has recently the real key to the Knicks making a serious run in the Eastern Conference, Hayes?
It better darn well be. Look at everything that they gave up to get him. It better be. He better unlock something more in this game. What are we talking about here? Like, don't get me wrong. Yes, Karl-Anthony Towns was a big acquisition as well, and him and Jalen Brunson are finding their chemistry. But you gave up a huge amount of picks to bring Mikal Bridges to this team. And I think that you hoped in making that trade that he was going to bring something as far as being a two-way player that can help get you over the top a little bit, right? You need somebody who, when Jalen's not on or whatever, can score, they can defend, that can create a little bit. And so now having Towns, now having Mikal Bridges, if both these guys hit their stride at the right time for this New York Knicks team, the sky's really the limit. And then you still have Jalen Brunson, of course, who we know finished last season on an MVP level of play over the last 20 games or so that season. So yeah, it's important for Mikal Bridges to be on and to unlock the confidence and the level of play that's needed, that he can be a huge impact for that team.
The offensive stuff worried me less than the defensive stuff. Early on in the season, like for the season, they've been 3 points worse with Mikal Bridges on court defensively. But if you look at the last 10 games, they've been 12 points better with him on the court defensively. Those are wild swings. So I don't know whether that's shot variance or small sample size, or whether that's maybe something to do with Bridges kind of settling in and figuring out Tibbs' system and just kind of settling into those kind of things and working out the kinks. If that's the case, the Knicks are going to be not just a great team, but they're going to be a serious contender if that trend keeps up.
Matt, is it possible to hyperbolize what we're seeing from Wembanyama? I didn't mention the four blocks that he had in this game to go with the 42 points and 18 rebounds.
Just 4 blocks, no big deal, Doug. You can just leave those out. I mean, I don't even know how to contextualize this stuff. And I'll tell you, it was really great to see this on Christmas Day because I had that game on in the living room, and like my father-in-law is like, "Who is that kid?" And I was like, "Oh, that's Wemby." And he was like, "Wait, is that stat line real?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's what he does." And so you have this opportunity for him. He is going to be massively popular. He's already massively popular. He's going to be more popular. He's going to be really the face of the league. And so having these kind of performances and moments like this is really big. He has moved to number 3 in EPM now. He's past Jason Tatum. He's 94th percentile on offense, 95th percentile on defense in advanced metrics. I don't understand what we're seeing. It's insane to look at what this kid's doing at age 20.
Wemby is going to live up to every bit of the hype, and I think that it's clear that you see that. And it's not every time that a player is able to do that. And the effortlessness and even still the room that he has left to grow, and then the refinement that then comes after he finishes growing is the sky's the limit for Wemby. And I for one am glad that we're going to be able to see this. NBA cannot get this wrong. You have a star in the making here, an international star in the making. Let's keep pushing Wemby.
I think about what people say about artificial intelligence, like it's the worst that it's the worst that it's going to be today than it will ever be. You know, I feel that way about Wembanyama. It's like this is like the worst version of Wembanyama that we're going to see for the next few years. It's only like he only shot 37.5% from three in this game on 16 attempts. It could get way better than that. It's nuts. But not everyone was feeling the Christmas spirit on Wednesday. The Boston Celtics allowing 118 points to the Sixers in their loss. Locked On Celtics host John Karalis was searching for an analogy to describe an elite team struggling to find the fire to dominate in the regular season. Let's see what he came up with.
Boston Sports Journal, I compared it to a Bugatti doing 65 miles an hour in the left lane. And you're like, I know that this car can go a lot faster than what you're giving us right now. It's a weird place to be because I completely trust this team to figure it out. I completely trust this team to be at its best when they need to be. But I think it's going to be a better effort from the Celtics. I don't think they want this to remain a storyline. So I trust them to do all of this stuff. At the same time, there's absolute reason to sit there and be like, I don't like what I'm watching. I don't like what I'm seeing. Again, the Bugatti example. It's like, just hit the gas, buddy. That thing is a beautiful piece of machinery. It's perfectly engineered, just like the Celtics are. Just hit the gas. We know you can hit the gas. You don't even have to go 120. Just go 80. Just hit that gas, baby.
Just hit that gas, baby. Matt, can the Celtics just turn it on whenever they want? Or is there something that you've seen so far that you're looking for where you go, okay, something might be different here, particularly on the defensive end. This car may never run the same again.
I've been yelling about this for weeks, man. I've been yelling about this. Like, I'm sorry. The Celtics are not some juggernaut. Stop putting them in pen for the finals. Stop it. They can do it. This is a great team. They can find that. They can get there. But this is not just – here's the thing. Once you start to lose it, think about how well they've played and for how long they did. Do you know how hard it is to play at that level together for that long? Basketball and chemistry is ephemeral. It's tough to be concrete and tangible. You can't just keep it there if you want it. It's not about hitting the gas, man. It's something that takes the right timing, the right circumstances, the right fortune. You have to have luck, not just injury, but everything else. This Boston team is still elite, but these problems are problems that existed before they beat a bunch of teams that were missing their best player and won a title, and they're problems that exist after. The defense has slid. It hasn't slid a lot, but it's slid enough to open the door. I covered a team coming off a championship that everybody was like, oh, they're going to be back there. There's nothing to stop the Nuggets. And I was like, I don't know. Like, there's problems with this team. Like, there are issues under the surface. And it wound up costing them. This isn't a gas issue, Hayes. The Celtics are great, but they're beatable.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that the Celtics are beatable, but I do think that there may be a little bit too maybe letting their foot off the gas in the sense that I think I said this on the episode before, like they may just understand how to pace themselves better now. Maybe they are kind of a team that looks in and they know what they can do in the offseason. They do want to pace themselves. Maybe they don't want to be that team that they faced that had a lot of players injured over the course of their run. Like, you know, there's that aspect of it. I think that there's sometimes after a team wins a title, there's a little bit of letdown in that second season because they've gotten there and they may just like I keep going to, they might try to pace themselves a little bit better, but they're definitely beatable. Like, I think it's gotten to the point to where you can look at the Knicks, you can look at the Cavs. These teams have a realistic chance of beating the Celtics and coming out of the Eastern Conference. But I still give the Celtics a little bit more credit. I think they're still incorporating Porzingis. I think we still haven't seen their best defense yet, and they could still uncover that. So I still think there is some there. But also, the longer you're together, the more time you give teams around the league to figure you out.
You can talk about being able to do the thing. You got to do the thing. That's like that's it. Like, you got to do it. And their margin for error isn't the Golden State Warriors from 2017. This is not that squad. Their margin for error is tighter. They gave up a 123 defensive rating yesterday. The Magic showed earlier they can contain their threes. Again, great team, should be the favorite in the Eastern Conference. Beatable. It's not just the gas.
Okay, let's take one final look back at Christmas Day before we move on. I want to know from each of you who delivered the best gift on Christmas Day. To you, to NBA fans, however you want to frame this. Could be Victor Wembanyama in a loss, could be Mikal Bridges, could be Tyrese Maxey, could be Kevin Durant. We didn't talk much about the late game. We'll send it over to Hayes first. who delivered the best gift on Christmas Day?
As the pettiest person on this panel, is there any doubt what I'm going to pick? LeBron James calling out the NFL after the game was the best gift that I could have gotten on Christmas Day from the NBA. Yeah, there were great games. Women's performance was great. All these things were great. Make no mistake about it. I love the fact that we got really good games on an important day. But having LeBron, for his stature in his league and how he's viewed, to say that on that stage, hopefully it wake something up for more people to have pride, because Christmas is supposed to be the NBA's day. NFL, get on somewhere.
The games were great, and that's awesome. We still could have used some of these other new teams. We still could have used teams like, where's OKC at? Like, where is OKC at? We all knew that they were going to be the favorites of the Western Conference. Why are they not on the slate? Because you did have Victor Wembanyama, who I think is the MVP of Christmas. Like, look at this new star. Look at this new crop. And like next year, hopefully we get the Thunder and Wemby and Cooper Flag. And like, we'll have all those guys, and that'll be great. If Flag goes 1, by the way, which isn't for sure. I think Wemby's the MVP for what he kind of showcased, the new talents and all that. But I still look at, as good as these games were, I still think the NBA missed some opportunities by going to tried and true versus trying to push some of the newer teams.
I like where Hayes' head is at, though. I feel like all this talk about the All-Star game and getting these guys to care, I think it might be as simple as Adam Silver calling up Roger Goodell and saying, hey, NFL, can you program something during the All-Star game, during this All-Star tournament, that might just get everyone to care about it? Because I did think it was unique, LeBron caring about it in a way. Like, Christmas Day is ours. The All-Star game should matter. Maybe it would matter more if the NFL programmed a game there.
I love it. That's a great take, Doug. We'll just get we'll get a one-off exhibition in the NFL and get it done.
And that's an easy sell. The NFL wants to play every single day of the week. Like, Roger's not going to be like, no, they'll add another week if that's what it takes. All right. If you like what you heard today, if you want more of Locked On NBA, then make sure you subscribe wherever you get podcasts. That includes YouTube. Let us know what you think in the YouTube comments about what you saw on Christmas Day, what you want to see from the NBA the rest of the way. Thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen. Enjoy tonight's action. Be kind to each other, and we're going to see you right back here to wrap up the week, our favorite things on Friday's edition of Locked On NBA.